My wife cheated on me on our honeymoon. She cashed in her hall pass the week after we got married. Her childhood crush was at the bar and sweet talked her into it. She tried to justify it by saying that we shook on it. But we agreed to those rules while we were literally children. It's not like I ever expected her to actually meet this guy. I feel it should go without saying that your honeymoon is sacred and you shouldn't bang some strange celebrity on it. I don't care if she has had a crush on this person since she was 14. I don't care if it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and he was all over me. It's a huge betrayal and she seemingly doesn't even feel bad about it. She is clearly giddy and texting all her friends telling them how big his hog was. I don't recognize her anymore. It's like she's a totally different person. We've been married for barely a week and she's sleeping with some random guy she met at the bar. This is totally out of character for my wife. We dated for 6 years before we got married, and really only did a small ceremony so that she could get on my health insurance. We're not big believers in the institution, so it felt kind of like a formality in a way. We knew we wanted to stay at a resort for our honeymoon, and left right from the after party to go to the airport. I admit that my social battery was spent and I went to bed a little early that night. My wife asked if it was okay if she went down to the bar, and of course I said I don't mind. At the time I trusted her completely. I was asleep before she even left the room. When I woke up she wasn't back yet. I immediately got dressed and went out looking for her, assuming she was already up and getting breakfast. She wasn't anywhere to be found, and I waited in the lobby for hours. Eventually I spotted her by the elevators and she looked like she was on a walk of shame. I immediately went up to her and started drilling her asking where she had been. I was worried sick. She wouldn't tell me anything while other people were in the elevator with us. The ride up the elevator was effing nerve-wracking. I was thinking of the worst possible scenarios. Eventually she told me. She asked me if I remembered her hall pass, the celebrity she had permission to sleep with if ever given the opportunity. My heart sunk. Of course I remembered, but that was an agreement we made when we were like 17 years old. It was just an innocent fun conversation, not one I had personally ever had plans to follow up with. To me, it would still feel like cheating, even if we had talked about it years ago. She said that she planned to come up to wake me and ask if it would be okay, since her hall pass was downstairs and they had sort of hit it off. But he kept buying her drinks and she got swept up in the moment and ended up just going to his room with him instead. Needless to say I was shocked by her admission and got so mad that I broke a lamp in the hotel room. The rest of the afternoon was a blur. I had to go out for a walk on the beach to calm down. My wife of 1 week had slept with a washed-up B-tier actor who was a known alcoholic and womanizer, not to mention 30 years older than her. I'm surprised he could still get it up without having a heart attack. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What would my parents think if we got divorced 2 weeks after getting married? When I got back to the room I started packing my things. She was crying and freaking out, but I didn't feel bad for her. She says she was drunk, and she is a lightweight, and this guy bought her a bunch of drinks. I almost felt bad for her for a second, but every time I looked at her I felt this intense betrayal that I couldn't shake. It was all just unconscionable. I couldn't believe that she felt like a joke conversation we had years ago would justify this. She should have thought twice before effing someone a week after we very publicly committed to each other for the rest of our lives. There is a pit in my stomach that may never go away. She made her decision, and I've made mine. The last thing I told her before I left for the airport was to try and get in touch with Scarlett Johansson, convince her to sleep with me, and then maybe we can talk.